Welcome back to another LP Gallery tutorial. Today we're going to be talking about how to use symbol fonts in your Clipart. And when I say symbol fonts, and I'm actually referring to the character you use for your bullet text. Those of you who work in word processors, you probably use a lot of bullet text, and those little characters you use are symbols. So depending on what version of the operating system you have, whether you have Windows or Mac, you'll have 2, 3, maybe even 4 different symbol sets. And every time you install a program that uses text, there's a good chance that it might install more fonts and even more symbol sets. That's something you do is go through your fonts to see what symbol sets you actually have. So in this example, I'm looking at the wingding sets. So this is a standard example that comes with Windows. Just about every version of Windows has this. And depending on the version of Windows, you may have 2 or 3 different wingding sets. So here's just a standard wingding set. These are characters you could use for your bullets. If you didn't want your round circle for bullets, you could use these characters. But I also use them as part of my Clipart. So this is how I do this. When I use symbol fonts in my Clipart, I do it one of 3 different ways. One way is to use it and replace the text. So here's a crystal glass ornament for Christmas. If you watched our tutorials, you've seen how we've done this. So instead of saying something like season greetings, I made this a little more generic by using the snowflake symbol right here. So here's a snowflake symbol, and I just use that instead. Another way that I use it is when I want something very ornate. So here we have like a crystal ball, and I want a nice ornate base to this. The only way I can actually create something ornate like this is to actually go to my symbol fonts and find something that looks like this. And this looks very ornate, very realistic, and all that is the @ sign right here. Turn into a 3D shape and given a gold fill, and you get something pretty soon that looks like this, very ornate. Now the third way I use symbol fonts in my Clipart is just as Clipart itself. So you can actually take any one of these, and instead of using them just as text, you can actually use them as a piece of Clipart itself. So you can make it as large as you like, color it as you want, and you have a unique little character. So symbol fonts can be incorporated many different ways into your Clipart. Now we're going to show you an example of each one of these and the little step you need to do when you want to take it from just a simple bullet character into your Clipart. Now the first way I use symbols is in replacement of text. So here we have a little Christmas ornament, and it says season greetings. Now I'm going to make a copy of this, and I'm going to replace the text with something a little more generic, like the snowflake symbol. Now I'm not going to explain how to do the text wrapping around the object. If you follow other videos, you know how we do this. So basically I'm just going to show you how we do the replacement. So I'm going to take the text right here, and you see it's nice in the circular area. So you can see that the text appears to be wrapping around. And again, if you follow our tutorials, you know how we do this. So all I'm going to do is replace this with a nice snowflake symbol. So I'm going to click in there, and I'm going to select it all. And then I'm going to go to my insert, and I'm going to go to my symbols, and I'm going to find my snowflake symbol. And that's part of the wingding sets. And again, you're going to have to go through your system to see what symbols you have. If you're in Windows, you will have several wingding sets in here. So here it is. It's wingdings, and there's a snowflake symbol. So I've got that there, and I'm going to insert it about 10 times. So I'm going to go insert once, and just keep doing it until I get about 10 of them in there. And generally you want to keep it more of an even number. And again, if you look back at the tutorial about how to make text look like it's wrapping on something, you'll understand why. So we want to keep it into even numbers. And there we have 10. Okay, now the thing is, if I put it here, it's not going to quite look like it's wrapping around. Clearly the back part has to fade because you're looking through the glass ornament into the back part. So I have to fade the back part. Now I'm not going to make it gold. I'm not going to try to fade the gold. It's wasting my time. I'm going to just give it a green fill, and I'm going to make that transparent. So it'll have the illusion that you're looking through the glass. So I'm going to select the back part. Now this is the important part. You're not dealing with shapes. These are symbol fonts, so they're still text. So you have to deal with the text options here. So I'm going to go to my text options. You can see I've got my gold fill, which I don't want. I'm going to just go to solid, and I'm going to just click here, make it a green, and then just take the transparency down, something like that. And then I just put it back, and we get something like that. So I do this quite often. I try to find symbol sets whenever possible to replace the text to give it more of a generic feeling. It's more recognizable that way. So using your symbols to replace fonts, a piece of clip art like this. Now here's another example. So here I have two balloons, and again we have a tutorial on how to create balloons, including the fancy little streamers here. So here we have celebrate, and here we just use the symbol. Not everybody's going to have this particular symbol set, and that's why I suggest you go through your symbol sets to see what you have. So I do have symbol sets that have more of a celebration kind of characters in it. So here we have, looks like they're drinking champagne. So again, the concept of celebration without having to use the word celebrate in there. The next way I like to use symbol fonts into my clip art is to actually incorporate them directly into the clip art. And I usually do that when I'm looking for something lacy or something a little more ornate. So here's an example. Here we have a little piece of ribbon here. It's kind of interesting, but not too terribly interesting. We have the same piece of ribbon here, and we've added a lace filigree to it. So you can see we have a nice lace component to it. So these are just symbols that are added to it. And they're all gathered together, and I use my merge shapes, and I just put them all together as one piece, and then give it a nice gradient fill. So you can see that by adding this lace pattern, you just take something so simple like this, and you just take it to the very next level. So here again are more examples. So here's that crystal ball, and I'm using a base here, and again I'm using my symbols to give me a nice, fancy, very light lattice-like structure to the base. Again, these are symbols given a 3D format effect and then added some gold color. Very elegant, very effective. Here we have a nice little wizard's wand. We have this green globe, and what's holding it into the wand is of course this nice metallic, very airy, very light, very lattice-like filigree. And again, those are just symbols. Here again we have a jewelry piece, and it's the same kind of idea. We have a gold piece in the background. What's holding this nice gemstone into the background is this lattice work of beautiful, delicate little gold filigree lace. And again, just symbols, give it a nice 3D format and a nice gold color. So here we have kind of the same thing here. I'm just giving you an example. So here we have this lattice-like structure of beautiful gold, and it could be anything. It could be a screen, it could be representing maybe a fence or anything like that. It's very elegant and it's very ornate, and it's very simple to do. So here's an example. We'll just quickly do one to show you. So again, this structure here is just made with the symbol here. So you can't use a symbol by itself. You have to convert it into the word art shape. So we're going to go to my format, I'm going to go to text effects, transform, and again, I'll just take the square. The square does the least manipulation to the shape, so we have that. You still may have to straighten out the square. It still does add a distortion, so you may have to straighten it out. So we'll take that one, and what I'm going to do now is just duplicate it, and I'm going to just have to flip it. And there's a lot of different ways to flip this and how to line them. So I'm going to just line them just simple like this. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I could group them, or I could perform merge shape to them and make them one piece. So in this case, I'll just make them one piece. I'm going to select them, and I'm going to go to my format, go to my merge shape, and I'll just do the union. So they basically end up being just one piece. Okay, so we've got something like that. And now I'm going to give it a nice gold fill in a 3D format. Now instead of doing that manually, I already have these. So I'm going to just borrow from one of my shapes that I have here already. I'm going to just grab the format painter and I'm going to apply it to here. And you get that. And there it is. It's a very elegant, very metallic, elegant lattice lace-like structure. And of course you could do it that way, and then you could just duplicate them and you do things like this and you just keep the pattern going. So you can do them as one piece and just do it this way, or you could do a whole bunch of them in a pattern and then collectively do the format shape, put them in union, and apply your effects. Anyways, you get a very elegant structure like this, something that would be impossible to create any other way than with symbol fonts. So again, you're going to have to go through your symbol fonts to see what you have, and you just basically have to experiment, and I think you're going to be surprised with what you can come up with. Now the last way I use these symbol fonts is as clip art. So here's some examples of some of the symbol sets that I have here. Again, you might have different ones. And you can see I've taken one of each one and I've turned it into a piece of clip art so it stands all on its own. So I've added some nice boss effects to it, some color, nice drop shadows, and they serve just as great clip art like any other piece of clip art. So to do that, we have to convert your character here and take it away from the text component and turn it into a word art component so that we can actually use it. So text by itself is not going to be useful, so you have to take that step of going to Format, Text Effect. You got to go to your Transform, and again, I would stick to the first one called Square. We don't want to distort it, so it's at least one that will distort it, and you can do from here whatever you like. So there it is, we have that. Now you have to remember again that this is a text character right now. Even though we applied the word art to it, it's still a text character. So the shape is not going to help you. All the shape will do is fill in the box area here. That's not what you want. You want the actual character. That means you got to go to Text Effects. Let's say you don't want to work with text options. You're more comfortable working shape options. Another thing you can do is copy and paste this as a Windows meta file. So if I were to copy this right now and go to my Home, Paste, Paste Special, and choose Enhanced Meta File, it's right here, it'll look the same thing, but I have to ungroup it, and what I'm going to do is turn it into just basically a vector object. So it will no longer have a text component. It will just be a vector shape, just like any other clip art. And again, we have tutorials on this. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to say Group, Ungroup, and you have to do that twice. It's telling you it's not a grouped object, and there's an invisible box you have to get rid of. And now these look exactly the same, but now this is a shape object. It's no longer text. Text will have nothing to do with it. So if you're more comfortable working with your shape options, then you can convert these into Windows meta files, and they will behave the same way. So again, let me just quickly go to my text options, maybe put a gradient on it. You get something like that. And again, to my shape here, because it's no longer text, I can go to my shape options. Just give it a gradient. It's the same thing, so you can see that. So you basically get the same thing. So there it is. So that's how you can take your little symbol fonts and turn them into actual little small clip art. Again, I suggest you go through your symbol sets and see what you have and start working with them, because you might be surprised what you can come up with. So there's 3 ways that I work with symbol fonts into my clip art. Now you may find different ways to even incorporate symbols into your clip art, different ways than what I've done here. So the idea is to experiment, and in all these tutorials we've shown you how to take simple shapes and how to rethink the shapes into other objects. So basically just a little extension of how you can add another component into your clip art ideas. So we hope you found this tutorial helpful, and if you did, hang around, we got a lot more to show you. So thank you for watching, and check out our other videos on creating your own PowerPoint clip art.